Hi, guys, and welcome to the Horror Room. So, last week we looked at all the different Night of the Living Dead editions that I have. So, I figured we'd keep this train rolling and just continue the rest of the George Romero Dead movies. We're going to be talking about Dawn and Day of the Dead. Now, I don't have enough versions to separate them into two different videos. Um, Not even sure if there are that many, honestly. I mean, I know there's quite a few different ones. There's even some of both that I don't have that I wouldn't mind getting. And first, we're going to go ahead and get the single one out of the way, and that's the Laserdisc that I own for Dawn of the Dead, the director's cut, which, well, we'll read it on the back in a second. Now, there's also a different version of this. It's not Criterion, but there's a different cut of Dawn of the Dead on Laserdisc that is pretty good. But this one, I just was like, I love that iconic cover. The other one, I think, is more simple. But yeah, this is a Elite Entertainment release. They did a lot of good Laserdisc release. It says, for the first time on home video in the United States, this extended version includes approximately 15 minutes of additional footage not contained in the original theatrical cut. So I do believe this is the Dario Argento cut. There's more of the soundtrack from the Goblins, less of like the cheesy 70s type music, I guess. And there's like more just additional footage. It's not necessary because, I mean, Dawn of the Dead is a very long movie in itself, but if you're very hardcore about it, you can watch the European cut and get a little something extra from it. Then, of course, we have the Dawn of the Dead VHS. There's also a version by, I think it's Anchor Bay, that is like a kind of a rainbow pattern cover. And I don't know if that's a different version, like an uncut one or something like that. This is just the standard, but that one, I've always wanted that one. That one's really cool. Maybe one day I'll end up getting it. And then we did talk about remakes in the last one, so I figured why not, The only one that's actually good out of the ones we're going to be talking about is, of course, the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead remake, which is weird to say because, a lot of people don't like Zack Snyder's superhero movies, but I think he did pretty good with horror. Maybe he should have stuck with that genre for a while. Now, he did come out with the... I don't even remember I don't remember. It's the one that came out a few years ago with Dave Bautista in it, and there was like a pregnant zombie, and they were riding horses, and they talked. I'm like, no, please no. And the intro is like blatantly ripping off Zombieland's intro. So this is the unrated director's cut, which I think some of the only stuff that's unrated about it is there's a scene where a baby turns into a zombie, and the only scene that they add in is them pointing the gun at a baby, which is pretty crazy. But this is a very fun remake. If you can just shut your mind off and enjoy it for what it is, of course it's not going to top the original. But it is a lot of fun and has a great soundtrack. Everyone remembers the Richard Cheese version of Down with the Sickness. So let's get back into the DVDs. Here we have the Dario Argento cut, the European cut of Dawn of the Dead, which overseas they called Zombie. Now, that's why when you see Lucio Fulci's Zombie, it's sometimes marketed as Zombie 2, because it was like a sequel. Even though in the context of that film, it's more like a prequel, because at the end of the movie, you see the zombies going across the bridge, and it's like, oh, they're invading. But yeah, this is the Dario Argento version. It says right here, Dario Argento is a master, a completely different version than Romero's, and still a great film. Is it though? It's just got some extra bonus scenes, a little bit of a different soundtrack. Yeah, it's not bad, but to say that it's completely different, that's false. But it is a good version. Like if you can find the standalone version, there's that. Now, this is the DVD of the VHS I mentioned earlier. It kind of has the rainbow thing going on, but I think the VHS was like kind of more a lenticular design, so it was like shiny and shimmery. But this is an anniversary edition of the original Dawn of the Dead. Uh, it's got alternate scenes from the European cut, so they at least included those. They said, we're not going to put the version on here. Or maybe there was like a rights issue, something like that. It's got a commercial for the Monroeville Mall where they shot Dawn of the Dead. And that's pretty cool. So you got this cool purple disc for the theatrical cut. You got this little mini poster with the artwork and the scene stuff. I always like when they include like a little alternate art because it's so easy just to slap the same image on the inside, and that's kind of boring. So yeah, Anchor Bay, they've always gone above and beyond with their horror releases. And that brings me to their best release of Dawn of the Dead. This is the Ultimate Edition. This box set is getting harder and harder to find. I know there's like a 4K version that is technically better because it has the soundtrack included. But I think it's only Region B, so if you don't have a player that plays all regions, you're out of luck. And then you got like some zombies on the different parts. It's pretty cool. But then you open it up. Let me see if I can do this without completely dropping everything. Whoa, look at that. I should have done that for my thumbnail, actually. So you have the US theatrical version, you have the extended version, you have the European version, and then you have the documentaries. Wow. So if we take a look at this little booklet right here, or well, it's the little insert. So disc 1 has the theatrical version. It's got commentary, trailers, TV spots, the comic book preview. Disc 2, it's got the Monroeville Mall commercial, behind the scenes, memorabilia gallery, so that's probably pretty cool. The European disc has international lobby card stills, posters, press book, home video and soundtrack artwork. Ooh, pretty cool. And a bio on Dario Argento because, some people, this might have been their first introduction to Dario Argento. And then disc 4 has the documentaries The Dead Will Walk, Document of the Dead. Ooh, that's a good one. On-set home movies, and the Monroe Mall tour with Ken Foree. That's probably pretty cool, actually. You also get this, which also tells you everything that's on the different discs, but it also happens to be a layout of the Monroeville Mall. That's really cool. Now, it might be different because, the mall's probably changed their layout over the years. I know they covered up some of the different areas, like the hallway where they would escape from the zombies and go back to their little bunker. You also get this little mini comic of Dawn of the Dead. I don't know if it's not like, no, it's not the whole thing. It's basically just till they get to the mall. And it's, it's like your mid-2000s style comic, so it's fine. It's no beautiful artwork like the Night of the Living Dead one we saw. But yeah, this is a fantastic set. If you can't afford the new 4K one, which I can't remember how much it is, but I'm pretty sure it's over 100. I found this for like 30, maybe. And I think it still kind of runs around there, like 30 or 40. So, not a bad thing to invest in if you love Dawn of the Dead like me, because I love Dawn of the Dead. Which brings me to the last DVD that I wanted to mention. I don't have a standalone version of this, but you don't really need to. And that's the Dawn of the Dead Director's Cut. This is a double disc that also includes Land of the Dead. Now, you can get them both separately, but like, what's the point? If you can just get both movies in one package, why not? And like I said, we're not going to talk about Land of the Dead. It's fine. But the Dawn of the Dead remake is worth checking out. So on to Day of the Dead. Unfortunately, I do not have the Laserdisc of Day of the Dead. It's not like it's hard to find, but I'll eventually get around to it, hopefully. if the price is right. But we have this Video Treasures version that I found at a flea market years ago. And I remember I hadn't seen this. I knew about it, but I hadn't seen it. And I was like, ooh, Day of the Dead. I was like, I remember Dawn of the Dead. It's like, I haven't seen a good zombie movie in a while. And of course, this little image right there in the back where that guy's head is getting smushed by zombie fingers. I was like, oh, I got to go home and watch this. And I went home and watched it, and my mind was blown with how gory and graphic and depressing this movie can be. But it's still phenomenal. You have Captain Rhodes, you have Bub, you have the doctor who's, treating Bub. So many eccentric characters, and then you have this underground facility, just such a bleak existence, but it's still very good and a very crazy ending for one of these movies. Then, of course, you have the Anchor Bay Collector's Edition VHS, and you got good old Captain Rhodes right there on the back. I got this version for free from a friend of mine, so thank you for that, because I love collector's editions. And speaking of, here we have another one. This is Scream Factory, and I absolutely love the artwork on the front. Let's see if you can get that real quick. Yeah. It has, for special features, a new documentary, World's End, The Legacy of the Day of the Dead. George Romero, special makeup effects artist Tom Savini, commentary with all those people, behind the scenes footage from special makeup effects artist Tom Savini's archives, so you can see how they made like a lot of the crazy art. And then it's also got another thing that I absolutely love. It's got the reversible cover, the classic cover, which, let's see if I can remove the disc so you can see it. Yeah, classic cover, but I love the artwork. It's very unique, so why not keep it on that one? Then you have this release, which, man, this one's so good. And this is by Anchor Bay, of course. Of course it is. So you got that, and you get to open up. Hold on, if I can do it. You remove the flap for Bub, and there's the doctor and Dr. Tongue, I think, is actually that zombie's name. So 2 doctors. You have the discs spread out with the bonus features on a separate disc. You have this Day of the Dead files from Dr. Logan. And it's got the chapter select. Oh, wait, there's boobies on there. I got to cover that up. There's a chapter select. So yeah, it's like a little notepad. Oh, it's so cool. I always forget how badass some of this artwork is. Like the headless zombie. So good. So you got like this little fake notebook from the doctor. So this is a lot of fun. This is just like a little thing that they used to throw in releases like this that you don't see a lot of unless you're, looking at a boutique label. But like I said, Anchor Bay usually killed it. Between them and Blue Underground, it was always like, man, these guys just know what the fans want. Now this is the DiviMax series. DVD has been mastered with DiviMax high definition transfer process that allows state-of-the-art picture quality and can be viewed on any home entertainment system. Cool. You got audio commentary, the Many Days of Day of the Dead, 39-minute documentary. You got Day of the Dead behind the scenes, 31 minutes of production footage from special makeup effects Tom Savini. So I think that was some of the stuff that was on the other one. Wampum Miri promotional video. Maybe that's something to do with the movie or one of the actors. Yeah, it's just got a lot of zombie makeup photo gallery, posters, behind the scenes photos, production stills. Come on, it's a no-brainer. It's Anchor Bay at its finest. Mwah. Now what's not at its finest are these next 3. When am I ever going to talk about them? So I figured I would throw them in here. First off, we have the first remake. Yes, first remake. So Dawn of the Dead didn't get remade more than once. Night of the Living Dead did, and so did Day of the Dead. We have the 2004, I think it's 2004, the vomiting zombie on the cover. Day of the Dead, The Need to Feed. I don't know if that's just the tagline or its subtitle. Um, this is a bad movie. Um, Mainly for the way they treated Bub, and that's usually what it boils down to because Bub was so kind and so likable in the original. And you had all these great other cast members like Captain Rhodes and the main female, which I can't remember her name right now. But this movie has none of that. So at the very least, you would hope that Bub is going to be pretty cool. The way they explain him is that he was a vegetarian before he was bitten, so that's why he doesn't eat anyone. Wow. You really outdid yourself. Who directed this? Steve Miner? I didn't know that. Steve Miner actually directed one of the Friday the 13th movies. I want to say it was part 2. Really? Steve Miner? Oh my god. Okay. That really just upset me. But if that didn't upset you, this is going to. Day of the Dead Bloodline. So this sounds like a sequel, but it's kind of a remake. It's kind of its own movie, but it has Bub in here. Oh, this one is really bad with what they did. Based on the motion picture. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that guy's name. But yeah, different director. So, Bub, the unique thing about him is he's, all the zombies kind of remember things about their previous life. But the way they did Bub in this movie is he was kind of a stalker slash pervert slash maybe the R word with this female soldier. And when he gets turned into a zombie, he remembers all that and targets her specifically, which is a choice, a bad choice. This movie is stinky. You're probably like, why do you own it then? I don't think I paid a lot, and I was like, honestly, like, this is just too bizarre to not keep with the Dead movies. I probably should watch both of the remakes eventually and compare how bad they are. Maybe I'll do that one day for a video. And I also should do this one day because there's a unofficial sequel to Day of the Dead. No, not Land of the Dead. It's Day of the Dead 2 Contagium. Every day has a beginning. So they're trying to go back and say, this is how the day started. Part prequel, part sequel, total gut-ripping, gore-spewing homage to the original. Now, this was released by Anchor Bay, but I think it was more like a, yeah, sure, we'll put your little film on on our label. It kind of gives me some shot on Shittio vibes, but this is like 2005. So yeah, well past the 90s. You probably can't see a lot of stills on the back, but let me just go ahead and read what it says on the back. Pennsylvania, 1968. So they're trying to keep it at least in the time period, even though Day of the Dead came out in the 80s. At the Ravenside military installation, something has gone horribly wrong. A replicating virus has been discovered that causes the dead to rise and feed upon the flesh of the living. As the carnage escalates, a top-secret attack is ordered. The army thought they had the outbreak contained. They were wrong. Wow. And yeah, I think most people that watched that one have said it's really bad. Kind of how Night of the Living Dead has all these pseudo sequels. I didn't show it in the previous video, but there is a sequel that someone made for Night of the Living Dead called Children of the Living Dead. And I have that movie, and it's, from what I've heard, is very bad. One day I just need to bite the bullet and sit down and watch all these and see how awful they are. Because, there was a reason why the zombie craze went away for a long time because of movies like that. And it wasn't until Walking Dead kind of came along and revitalized the interest in it. Now it's not too oversaturated like it was, but those like early to late 2000s was like everybody was trying to do zombie movies. Some were pretty good. Like, you know, you had your Shaun of the Deads, you had the Dead, wait, the Dead Next Door. No, that's not the one, I don't think. Um, Dead and Breakfast, that's a good one. It's very funny. I haven't seen that one in a while. I need to watch that one again. It's really good. But you had, you know, House of the Dead. You had uh, the Return of the Living Dead, Rave from the Grave. Stupid shit like that. Undead, which was like the zombies are aliens. Oh gosh. But enough about that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed uh, my Dawn and Day of the Dead collection. We're gonna keep this train going. I like talking about my variants, so I got some more that I'm gonna talk to you guys about. Hopefully you're not sick of it. This is what I got for right now. So stay tuned next week. We're gonna look at something that has a bit of a buzz. Yeah, Texas Chainsaw. So I'll see you then.